Every June, somewhere between the first warm week and the longest day of the year, the same disaster plays out in roughly 60 million American backyards. The tomato seedlings you bought on Mother's Day stop growing. They do not die, they just stop. The leaves go pale. New growth comes in twisted. The first fruit hangs for 2 weeks and falls off green. And the woman who planted them in May stands there with a watering can in her hand and says the same 6 words. I don't know what went wrong. We are going to tell you exactly what went wrong. We are going to tell you about a 200-year-old May planting ritual the Amish in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, have done every spring since their grandparents arrived from Switzerland. We are going to show you a piece of paper printed by the United States Department of Agriculture in 1893 that proves it works, and that was quietly dropped from every USDA bulletin after 1923. We are going to name the British aristocrat in 1842 whose patent is still printed on the bottom of every bag of starter fertilizer you have ever bought. And we are going to show you the exact thing you can bury under each tomato plant in May that does in 12 weeks what no $20 bag of plant food has ever done. Stay with us. What you do in May decides whether your June stalls or not. The second Saturday of May, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. You are looking at a garden that should be empty, freshly tilled, ready to plant, and there is a bucket of dead fish next to it. The woman at the row is an Amish gardener we will call Rebecca. Plain blue dress, white cap, sleeves rolled. Her hands are stained silver from scaling. The bucket beside her holds a dozen whole shad, oily, bony, useless for the dinner table, hauled from the Susquehanna River that morning. She does not throw them out. She digs a hole 8 inches deep at the base of each row. She drops 1 whole fish into the bottom. She covers it with 3 inches of soil. Then she sets the tomato seedling on top, fills the hole and waters once. She will do this 12 times before sundown. 44,000 Amish still farm this county. Their June seedlings do not stall. Their July tomatoes do not crack. Their August harvest does not need a single bag of plant food. And the reason starts with a piece of paper in a government archive, almost unread for 100 years. It is Farmers Bulletin No. 16, printed in 1893, distributed free to every county extension office in the country. The author was Edward Voorhees, agricultural chemist at the New Jersey Experiment Station. On page 19, he describes the practice of burying a fresh fish beneath each tomato and squash transplant at the time of setting out. Voorhees writes that the practice was universal among the Pennsylvania Dutch, inherited from Swiss and German farming, dating to the 1600s, and that in field trials at his station, plants treated this way showed marked vigor and continued production through the heat of the summer. Marked vigor, continued production through the heat of the summer. A government chemist in 1893 in an official USDA publication telling American gardeners exactly what to do. Bulletin No. 16 was reprinted 3 times between 1893 and 1908. It was quietly dropped from circulation in 1923. No retraction was ever issued. The science was never disproven. The bulletin simply stopped being reprinted. We are going to tell you who made that decision. But first, a British aristocrat who got a patent in 1842. A patent that is still on the back of the bag of plant food in your garage. His name was John Bennet Lawes. He was born in 1814 on an estate in Hertfordshire, England, called Rothamsted. By the time he inherited it at age 8, it covered more than 1,000 acres of the most exhausted wheat soil in southern England. His mother sent him to Oxford. He came home obsessed with chemistry. In a converted barn, he began grinding animal bones with sulfuric acid. Bones are calcium phosphate. The acid converts that phosphate into a form plants absorb the moment it touches water. On the 23rd of May, 1842, John Bennet Lawes was granted British patent number 9353 for what he called superphosphate of lime. It was the first synthetic fertilizer ever patented. The first chemical fertilizer factory in the world opened the following year on his estate. Within a decade, superphosphate was being exported to the United States by the shipload. By 1865, the year the American Civil War ended, there were 191 superphosphate factories in the eastern United States, most of them in Pennsylvania. And here is the part the company will not put on the back of the bag. Lawes' superphosphate worked. First season yields were spectacular. The second season, smaller. The third, smaller still. By year 5, the field would not grow wheat without another larger application of the same product. Lawes had not invented a fertilizer. He had invented a subscription. The buried fish was free. The bag of superphosphate was not. And once the bags were selling, the bulletins describing the bucket of fish stopped getting reprinted. Bulletin number 16, last printed 1923. The same year, the American Plant Food Council was formed in Washington. 2 of its founding members are still on the shelves of every garden center in this country. You were never supposed to know that. Now, what is actually happening under the soil between the day you plant in May and the day the heat sets in June? There are 3 things going on. The bag of starter fertilizer addresses one of them badly. The buried fish addresses all 3, slowly, for exactly the right amount of time. First, nitrogen. A tomato seedling does not want a spike in week 1. A spike produces lush green leaves and almost no flowers. This is the single most common cause of beautiful plants that never fruit, and starter fertilizer is engineered to deliver exactly that spike. A whole fish, 8 inches under, releases nitrogen on a curve. Weeks 1 and 2, almost nothing. 3 through 6, release ramps up, exactly when the plant puts out its first vining growth. 6 through 12, peak release, exactly when the plant is setting and ripening fruit. Rutgers University published a paper in 2011 that nobody outside the academy read. They measured the release curve from buried whole fish at 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It matches the nutrient demand curve of a fruiting tomato to within 4%. The Amish did not have soil chemists. They had results. Second, phosphorus. Lawes built his fortune by making phosphate dissolve instantly in water. That sounds good. It is not. What dissolves instantly washes out instantly in the first heavy rain. The University of Maryland has documented that up to 70% of phosphorus from synthetic fertilizers leaves the garden in the first 3 rainfalls and ends up in waterways. A fish skeleton is calcium phosphate too, the same compound Lawes was grinding, but it has not been treated with acid. It releases over 18 to 24 months as microbes slowly break down the bone. 2 growing seasons of phosphorus locked in the root zone from 1 fish. Third, the trace minerals not on the label. The back of any bag shows 3 numbers: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. A whole oily fish contains calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, copper, manganese, selenium, iodine, sulfur, B vitamins, and 17 amino acids the soil microbiome consumes directly. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources identified, in a 2007 report, 22 distinct nutrient compounds released from a single buried whole fish over one growing season. 22 from one fish. The bag of plant food gives you 3. That is not a fertilizer. That is a flashlight in a room that needs a window. So here is what you do. The day matters. Plant when soil temperature at 4 inches deep reads 60 degrees Fahrenheit at 8 in the morning for 3 mornings in a row. In most of the eastern and central United States, that window opens between May 10th and May 20th. A $9 soil thermometer tells you the exact day. Do not trust the calendar, trust the soil. Get the fish. If you fish, save heads and frames from one weekend's catch. If not, ask the fishmonger at your grocery store. Most give heads away free on Sunday before closing. You want oily fish, bluefish, mackerel, herring, shad. The shortcut is 1 4-ounce can of whole sardines in water, drained, buried whole, about $1.50 per plant. Dig the hole 10 inches deep, twice as deep as a normal transplant. Place the fish at the very bottom. Cover with 4 inches of soil. This is the critical step. The fish cannot touch the roots. If the roots reach the fish before bacteria have started to break down around day 14, the nitrogen will burn them. Set the seedling on top of the 4-inch soil cover. Backfill. Water in once with 1 full gallon of plain water. Do not fertilize again for the rest of the season, not once. The fish is doing the work. Animals will smell it for the first 48 hours. The Amish solution is a flat stone, 6 inches across, placed over the hole for 3 days. In modern backyards, a square of wire mesh on the surface for the first week works just as well. That is the method. The first year we tried this, 6 tomato plants got fish. 6 tomato plants got fish. 6 were a control. Same variety, same row, same water. The fish planted 6 were 15 inches taller by the end of June. They set fruit 2 weeks earlier. They went to first frost still producing. We harvested 47 pounds from them. The control 6, fed with the bag, produced 14. We thought it was a fluke. We ran it again the second year. The numbers came in identical. In the third spring, we noticed something we had not expected. The holes where fish had been buried the previous May, the holes we had not refilled, were still releasing nutrients. The new seedlings set into them outproduced the rest of the garden by 40%. The fish skeleton was still feeding. That is the secret the bag does not have. The bag is gone in 8 weeks. The fish is still there 18 months later, feeding the next thing you plant. That is what Rebecca's great-great-grandmother knew. That is what John Bennet Lawes built a factory to make you forget. And every June since 1842, 60 million American gardeners have blamed the heat, the seedlings, and their own brown thumbs for a problem that one fish buried 8 inches deep on the second Saturday of May would have solved before the plant ever felt the sun. You were never supposed to know that. Between May 10th and May 20th, before you set out a single tomato plant, get a soil thermometer, check the temperature for 3 mornings. On the 3rd, dig your holes deeper than normal. Drop in a can of sardines, a fish head, or a 1/4 cup of fish meal. Cover with 4 inches of soil. Set your seedling. Water once. Walk away. Come back in 90 days and tell us what you harvested. Leave a comment below. What was the worst tomato year your garden ever had? And what did you blame? The heat? Bad seedlings? Bad luck? We read every comment, and the answers will decide what we cover next. If you found this story fascinating, hit subscribe for more forgotten roots of the food we eat. In the next video, we will show you what the Amish bury in their garden on the longest day of the year, June 21st. and why it is the reason their tomatoes do not crack in August. The mineral involved is mined in only one place on Earth, and the company that owns the mine has spent 40 years convincing American gardeners to use a substitute that does not work. That story is a whole episode by itself.